here on the Dave's Gone By Total Theater Tony Broadway episode. I hope you're all theater maniacs out there because we're going into Theatermania at the moment with the editor in chief of that long running theater website. He's also the president of the Outer Critic Circle, so he sees all the shows. I'm sure he has opinions about all of them, as well as the Tony nominees. Won't you please welcome to the neighborhood for the very first time, for no good reason, and I apologize for that, David Gordon. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thank you for having me. We're very tired. I'm just hearing all of those things you said about me, and I'm very tired thinking about it.
We should say that you are especially tired because Mazel Tov, you have a 4-month-old girl named Michaela.
Yes, and it's wonderful. And having a child during Tony's season is.
I know you couldn't have planned the conception.
Well, she was born in January, to her credit.
Yeah, true. It's
but now she's just finally figuring out how to be like a little person as opposed to just being like a sleeping, pooping sack of deliciousness.
Well, that's what I am. But you
Yeah,
know, and by the way, just got a press release today, I'm sure you did too, that there's a Sesame Street off-Broadway show coming next. Maybe that'll be her first show.
I know, my wife is so excited already.
Yeah, but
yeah.
I'm excited to hear you talk about a category of Tony nominees this year. And you took featured actress in a musical. The nominees are Jeanette Bayardelle from Girl from the North Country, Shoshana Bean from Mr. Saturday Night, Jane Howishell from Music Man, L. Morgan Lee from A Strange Loop, Patti LuPone, and Jennifer Simard, both of them in company. David Gordon, your thoughts?
I took this category because I think it's going to be one of the easiest of the night. I think it had Patti LuPone's name on it from the second she was announced to star in this show. Mm-hmm. I think for everyone else it will be I think for everyone else it will be an honor just to be nominated, but I also think there's a world in which there are several surprises.
Well, how do you feel? I mean, did you think Patti LuPone was the best of the field?
I think Patti LuPone in company was the best I've seen her in a really long time. Okay. I thought, and I've seen her sing that song in concerts. I've seen her do that role before in other concerts. And I just think the characterization of Joanne that she developed with Marianne Elliott was so smart and so she just acted it so well. And it's not just about the acting the song, it's the whole cumulative effect in the show. And you really get this woman's pain in a way that I'd never really seen before. There were a lot of things about Company that I never really saw before until I saw this production.
I'll drink to that.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's talk also about some of the other candidates, some of the other nominees. Did any make a strong impression on you? Shoshana Bean, Jane Howishell, L. Morgan Lee, Jennifer Simard, Jeanette Bayardelle.
Well, I was going to say, without, were it not Patti, I think the competition would be between Jennifer Simard and L. Morgan Lee. Jennifer Simard for being her usual absolutely hilarious self as Sarah in Company, and then L. Morgan Lee in Strange Loop for being one of Usher's thoughts. And she's so good, and she's another one. She just steals every moment that she's on stage. And if L. Morgan Lee would win, she would become the first openly trans performer to win a Tony Award in an acting category.
Well, should that factor in? Should that matter?
It shouldn't. It shouldn't factor in. I'm just saying that's a tidbit.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, were there any? Did you think of any actresses who could have been in this category? Should have been, perhaps?
So many. Let me pull up my spreadsheet. Hang on.
Oh, please do.
Yeah.
We're talking with David Gordon, by the way, from Theatermania.com. He's the editor-in-chief of Theatermania. He's also the president of the Outer Critics Circle.
Yes. From Girl from the North Country, it's funny, Jeanette Bayardelle gave a great performance in Girl from the North Country. She's not the person that I thought they would have nominated. I figured it would be Kimber Elaine Sprawl, who, depending on who you talk to, may or may not be the girl from the North Country of the title, depending on how you interpret the show. But Jeanette Bayardelle has a couple of those moments where it just blows everybody away, and she's really wonderful. Uh, who else? It's so interesting to look at this category and think like, well, Diana the Musical came and went too quickly for Judy Kay to be nominated and Erin Davey to be nominated. I thought Erin Davey was absolutely wonderful as Camilla Parker Bowles. I thought she was the heart and soul of that show.
Hmm.
Uh, was it worthy of a nomination? I don't know, but if I were making my list, she would be close. She would be close in there, I think.
Okay.
I liked Annalise Scarpacci, who played the daughter in Mrs. Doubtfire. That's another show that
She
came and
was really good.
it was
Yeah.
really good, and it's another show that came and went too quickly. And I don't know if it's a nominatable role compared to all of these other
Oh yeah, she's
women.
on stage enough. I think
Yeah,
there's enough time up there for it to be a
yeah,
good actress for real. Yeah.
yeah. And I thought she was really good, and it's first time I'd ever seen her in anything, and she's gonna have a big future. Uh,
Okay.
and it's funny, if we're talking really out there, my favorite person in Funny Girl was the woman that played Mrs. Straykosh.
Come
Uh,
on. Yeah.
which is not a nominatable performance just based on stage time, but she was the one that I walked out talking about.
Cool. Well,
Uh,
let's also talk
yes.
about with David Gordon. If you were to choose your favorite one or two shows on or off Broadway or off of the whole season, what would they be?
My favorite show of the season, I think, is Thoughts of a Colored Man.
Hmm.
And I keep going back. It did not get nominated for anything. It closed very prematurely because of the pandemic. I think they literally ran out of actors when Omicron hit, and they just couldn't financially make it work to close down and then come back. I walked out of that show, and it was one of the few times where I said, God, I wish that were longer, because it had me for every single second of it. And I never say I wish something was longer.
What? There's a joke in there somewhere, but I
You're
won't.
right. Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, well, but all right. But thoughts of a colored man. Okay. Unfortunately I did not get to see it
I
because it was in
really,
the midst of Omicron and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I really loved it. We sat there riveted, and it was one of those things where I was watching it, and I said to myself, "Is this as good as I think? Like, am I actually enjoying this as much as I think it is?" And I think I did. And my wife and I left the theater, and we both looked at each other and were like, "That was awesome."
Did you feel that way in a play that I imagine is similar, the revival of Four Colored Girls, or are they two totally different beasts?
I did feel the same way. For Colored Girls, it is similar but different. Um, for Colored Girls was an absolutely beautiful production, and I wish that the Broadway financial model allowed for shows that are ensemble casts of people that have no real celebrities in them to run longer. But post pandemic, I'm not sure that's a financial model that will survive for the minute, and it should. And I think it was a similar situation with Thoughts of a Colored Man, that it was an ensemble of men that people hadn't really heard of and didn't really have much of a celebrity following,
Well,
for better or for worse.
but let's talk. I mean, you mentioned about coming out of the theater
Yeah.
revivified and like awesome.
Yeah.
What's that experience for you? Like when you first went back to the theater after a year and a half of no theater at all, was there a big moment for you, an aha thing, or did it just feel natural, like slipping on an old pair of shoes again?
It felt natural and completely different and scary all at the same time. And uh I spent so much time in the over the pandemic compartmentalizing the, like, well, if I never got to do this again, like, could I be able to go on with it? Because
Hmm.
I've been doing this for a long time now, and pre-pandemic, out every night, every other night, seeing shows. And then once it all stopped, I sort of had to figure out how to have a life outside of live performance. And I kept saying, I'll be fine. Like, if I never see a show again, I'll be fine. Like, I've had a good run, and like life goes on. And my wife was like, no, you miss it. You miss it more than you think you do. And then I went to see the first. I was fortunate enough to be in the first audience for Springsteen's first night back. Uh,
No.
yeah,
And
and it was great. And and it was an extremely moving show that he put together. It was, you're walking in, and you have all of the anti-vaccine protesters hanging out in front of the theater, shouting that he's a Nazi, you're a Nazi, and we're all Nazis for whatever they want to believe. And then he got in there, and that was before Delta even hit, so you didn't even need to wear a mask. But my wife
wow.
was pregnant, so I wore a mask the whole time, just for safety reasons. And it felt The thing that surprised me most about going to the theater post-pandemic was how normal it felt. Even though I'm wearing a mask on my face and I have to remember that I have to shave every 3 days or else it starts itching.
But even so, it's kind of like,
It felt like nothing at all, and yet it felt completely different and all the same. And I'm glad to be back. And I'm mostly on a sentimental level, and I tweeted this the other day. I'm mostly just grateful for the artists and for all of the theater like on stage, backstage, the people checking COVID vaccine cards at the front door. The people that tend to get forgotten about are the people that always get the most yelled, like the ushers. The people that get treated badly are the people that are always forgotten about. And I'm just so appreciative of everyone that had some part in making theater this year, from like the perspective of an audience member, and they put themselves in harm's way to entertain us. And it,
well,
at least for me, it does not go unnoticed.
well, we in the neighborhood are grateful to have people like you, David Gordon, who love theater, who promote theater, who are critical of it, but have a great deep understanding and joy in it as well. Everybody, please read David Gordon and everybody else on
Yes.
theatermania.com. Zachary Stewart's going to be with us on the show as well.
Oh, great.
Yeah, and don't forget that he is the president of the Outer Critics Circle too, who vote and do off Broadway as well as Broadway. David Gordon, great to have you here in the neighborhood and back in the theater, and thank you so much for joining us.
And always nice to talk to another Dave.
Bye bye.
Bye. Thank you.